Tales by Tabletop is a story adapted from sessions of Dungeons & Dragons. It follows the saga of a trio of adventurers, Laeran, Rosjen, and Tim.
Welcome, dear listeners, to the 6th chapter of our story. While Laeran and Rosjen take a moment to tend to their wounds from battle, Tim looks down both pathways available to them. One to the left where the stream is coming from, another to the right with a long, curved tunnel.
I think if we follow the stream, it'll lead us to the entrance of the cave.
Then let us uncover the truth of it.
Rosjen begins to use her light feet to walk down the passageway, taking care to be as silent as possible. She travels as far as Laeran's light reaches. The stream does indeed originate from the first room in which they were ambushed by kobolds, their bodies still littering the cavern floor. However, on the way, she passes a second, thinner crawlspace to her left. She swiftly returns to her companions.
It's wide enough for me, but you two might have to squeeze.
It would be a perfect place for kobolds to hole up.
I would not mind fighting them one at a time.
Let me go first, since I can see in the dark. Maybe it's where they're keeping the kid.
We're right behind you, mate.
Tim silently moves towards the crawlspace. As he turns sideways to move in, his guitar slams into the cavern wall. Tim is motionless, his eyes and ears straining for anything alerted to the cord bouncing off the wet cavern walls. Our heroes hear nothing. Tim continues forward. Whew. The crawlspace opens to a small, naturally circular room. The floor is littered with coins and jewels. Tim's eyes light up. He looks around quickly and cautiously to see if anyone else is in the room, and he reaches out his hand, but then he notices something shimmer.
Ah! On the way!
What's wrong?
Tim squeezes quickly out from the crawlspace, barreling past Laeran.
Cube! Gelatinous cube! Damn my eyes, that thing almost took my hand. It filled the whole room. Is it following me?
I do not see anything down there. Oh, wait, there it is. At the end. I can see the light reflect.
Does anyone have a torch? No, that doesn't work on oozes.
If it isn't coming after us, we should just leave it be.
But it's sitting on coins and gems.
We came here looking for a boy, not for riches. There's no sense in putting us in any unnecessary danger.
Right.
Although, we don't need one of those things following us.
That is a valid point, Roz. Let us make quick work of it, then.
Really? You won't regret this, Laeran.
The party line themselves up with the tight passageway and fire their bows and crossbows at the cube. Each arrow embedding and piercing the gelatinous cube until it loses its form and collapses, washing the floor in its remains. Tim eagerly rushes in and begins to pick up the valuables.
I reckon these'll fetch a few hundred gold, my friends. Oh, and Laeran, there seems to be some bandit armor remains in here, too.
Let me take a look at that. Yes, this will do quite nicely. Replace some of the organic parts when we get back to Brewery. Excellent find, Tim. Let us continue on. There lies only one path forward now.
Tim begins to lead the party down the curved tunnel. He stays just out of the radius of Laeran's light, guiding his companions almost 50 feet before he sees something in a large recess in the cavern wall, a crudely made cage. Curled at the bottom of the cage, Tim can see the faint silhouette of a small body. Tim hurries back to Laeran and Rosjen.
He's in there.
David, you found the boy. Did you see anything else in the room?
No. There was a 15-foot cavity in the wall. All I saw was the cage.
Well, if there is anything else, we are about to find out. Follow me, my friends.
Laeran, Rosjen, and Tim head down the passageway. Laeran's shield up, mace out, holy symbol hanging from his wrist, lighting their way forward. Eventually, the light reveals the form of a dirty halfling child locked in a small metal cage, his arms wrapped around his knees. The child picks his head up and squints at the light, blinded. Our heroes can first see the relief in his face, and then panic as he begins to wave his arms around silently.
We will get you out, son. Worry not.
At Laeran's words, an unusual low croaking growl rumbles from next to the cage, and a clawed hand grips the other side of the wall above Laeran's head.
Laeran? That looks like a kobold hand, right?
Yes.
But they're supposed to be my height, right?
Yes?
Son of a bitch! It's a bunch of them! They've been stitched together into some kind of golem!
From behind the wall emerges a 7-foot-tall kobold abomination, thick sinew joining together multiple large parts of kobolds.
Fortify, my friends. Kelemvor would like to have a word with this monstrosity.
Ugh, I thought just one of them smelled awful. This thing's stank is worse than a dozen of the little bastards.
The monster grabs the side of its head with one of its clawed and mangled hands in pain.
Those legs are sewn together. Maybe I can take out one of its knees and knock it down.
Her staff strikes the monster's leg, making it buckle slightly. However, it is able to stay upright. It glowers down at Rosjen and reaches out to grab her. She tries to tumble out of the way, but the monster grabs her leg. It then raises her up and slams her to the ground. Her quarterstaff flies out of her hand from the impact, bouncing off of the tunnel wall.
Ros!
Oh no!
The monster tosses Rosjen's motionless body to the side and lumbers towards Laeran. He can see Rosjen's crumpled form on the cavern floor.
Face me, you abomination!
Laeran bangs his mace on his shield, then says a soft prayer for Rosjen.
Kelemvor, it is not yet her time to be measured. See to it that she is brought back to us.
Soft light surrounds Rosjen.
Looks like you're not so good at killing things after all, f***o. What's the matter? Your master only used the bitchiest kobold parts to make you?
The monster again grabs at the side of his head, Tim's words cutting deeper than plain insults.
Bitch stitches! That's your name now!
Rosjen reaches out, her fingers finding her quarterstaff lying on the tunnel floor. She stands to face the beast. Rosjen jumps and swings her staff with a mighty blow against the beast's thigh, launching herself spinning in the air. The back of her right heel slams into the monster's neck, followed by a kick to its head with her left foot. She lands on the ground, preparing for another attack. The abomination turns and claws at Rosjen, catching her and slamming her into the wall. She rolls unconscious to the floor, letting go of her quarterstaff. It turns its attention back to Laeran, but he raises his shield up and ducks under the monster's swing. Laeran pushes up from his crouch and bashes his mace on the beast's leg, this time taking it to its knee.
You can't hit the broadside of a barn, can you, bitch stitches?
The creature grabs the side of its head as it doubles over in pain, its left eye popping out of its socket. It stands and claws recklessly at Laeran.
Tem, we know these things are constructed, yes?
Yeah? Why?
I have an idea.
Laeran drops his mace and throws his shield to the ground.
Kelemvor, guide my hands!
Laeran runs toward the abomination and grapples its head with his left arm. The monster tries to break out of Laeran's hold, but is held fast. Laeran then reaches to the beast's remaining eye and places his palm over it. A moment later, he removes his hand, and the creature's eye is sealed shut. The abomination flails in a blind rage. It hits the wall of the cave, and the cavern shakes slightly. Laeran dives for his mace and shield and lunges back at the creature.
Hey!
This time, Laeran's blow finally undoes the creature's stitches, and one of its legs comes undone. It falls prone to the ground. Tim unleashes his rapier and attacks.
You're nothing more than a f***ed up knitting project. Yeah, you weren't sewn together very well at all, were you? Bitch stitches, indeed.
Ros! Oh, good, she's still breathing. May the light of Kelemvor cure your wounds.
Soft light surrounds Rosjen again, and she opens her eyes.
Laeran, did we do it? Is David safe?
Yes, just don't take a direct look at the creature.
Laeran helps Rosjen to her feet and passes her quarterstaff to her.
What did you two do to its face?
Well, I insulted it so bad one of its eyeballs fell out, and the other... What exactly did you do to it, Laeran?
I used a mending spell on it. Since these things were created, I figured its hide is a little less quality than a cheap pair of boots. I'm actually amazed that worked.
That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Y'all are heroes.
Tem stands staring dumbfounded at Laeran for a few moments, while Rosjen rushes over to check on the halfling boy.
You're David, aren't you?
That's me. How'd you know my name?
Your father sent us to find you, lad. You've had him worried.
I know. I'm sorry. I knew I shouldn't go into the forest, but I saw these lights, and the next thing I know, I'm being chased by these things. So I hid in here.
David nimbly slips between the bars.
I knew they couldn't get me in here. Thank you all for coming to get me. I was scared no one would find me. Can we go home now?
Of course, son.
The party exits the cavern into the bright sunlight, David riding on Rosjen's shoulders. Rosjen calls out for the pixies, but gets no response. As they climb out of the hole, Tem finds 3 small effigies made of wood and twine in the shape of himself and the others at the entrance.
Well, that's not creepy at all.
It is a thing pixies are fond of doing. They may still be watching us.
He hands Rosjen and Laeran their respective dolls, and then hands the one that resembles himself to David.
Here you go, little mud skipper. He'll protect you. He looks like me, see?
And with that, Tem pulls out his guitar and begins strumming a wordless tune. Laeran lifts David off of Rosjen's shoulders and up onto his own. The mood is cheery as the 4 head back into town, finding the way much easier than when they came. Rosjen tells David stories of her life growing up in the monastery, and even Laeran seems to enjoy the music. Every now and then, one of them feels the hairs on the back of their necks rise, as if someone or something is watching them along the trees, but they make it back to the edge of town safely, twilight almost setting upon Brewery. As they approach, Tem sees Cartwright and waves sardonically. David, seeing this, begins to wave enthusiastically too. Cartwright only scowls back at them as they walk on by. Before the group gets back to the Swampy Donkey, Tem decides to make a detour.
You 2 get him back to the inn and his father. I want to track down one of the town guards. Someone needs to know what's happened.
Excellent idea. I'll catch up with you once we speak to Mr. Lightleaf.
Rosjen, Laeran, and David head off to the inn, while Tem heads straight toward the nearest guard, a tall man in a well-kept uniform who eyeballs Tem with mild suspicion.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes, what is it?
We've just returned from the forest. We were sent by Aldo Lightleaf to find his missing child.
Oh, the Lightleaf boy. You found him?
Yes, and the undead kobold's guarding him.
Tem regales the officer with the events of the day, and several times while speaking, the guardsman eyes the guitar on the bard's back and raises his eyebrows. Eventually, Tem is able to convince him that at least some danger exists.
All right, sir. I'll report this back to my commanding officer. We'll start the investigation.
You don't understand. This needs your immediate attention.
Sir, I assure you we will handle this. Do you have any other information for us? Could you draw us a map of this place?
Sure. Here, this is where I remember the entrance being. Oh, and watch out in this part of the cave. There's a roper still there. We cleared out the rest mostly, except for the bats and the sturges. Do you want my companions and I to accompany you?
That is a decision you will have to make. But you will be required to defer to us and how we carry out our investigations. It would probably take us a day to get the necessary people together.
Fine. Oh, and do you know what kind of bone this is? Is it dragon?
I don't know. I'm sorry, sir. It would be surprising if it was a dragon bone. The only dragon that was here was the one from 40 years ago.
Where was its hoard? Was it holed up further in the swamp?
What? No, it was the keep. The Knights of Brewery decided to build the keep over the dragon's hoard instead of hauling everything out. The head of the Black Dragon is actually mounted in the Great Hall.
Well, what about...
Sir, you have obviously had a long day and you've given me much to report. Come back to us tomorrow after you've had some rest. You'll be safe in town tonight.
Fine, but don't think this is over.
Good night, sir.
Door.
Meanwhile, at the Swampy Donkey, Laeran lowers David down off of his shoulders and he scurries towards the door. Toby, one of the tieflings who works at the inn, is sweeping the porch outside. His face falls to a deeper ashen pallor when he sees David through the doors of the inn.
David! Oh, thank goodness you found him!
David crashes back through the door, making horse sounds, being chased by his sister. The color once again slowly returns to his face, and Toby grabs him by the scruff of the neck.
I'm so glad you're safe. You need to not run into the woods like that, young master. It's dangerous.
The group moves inside, and Rosjen enters just in time to see David leap into Aldo's arms.
My God's boy, I'm so glad you're okay. Thank you all so much for finding him.
Of course, but the town is still in danger. We will have much to discuss, and I fear none of us are truly safe yet.
Indeed, but can this wait until tomorrow? We've just got the boy back home safe again. You all, of course, are welcome to stay as long as you need, free of charge.
At this moment, Tim enters the inn with a frustrated look on his face.
What did the gods say?
They'll get to it when they have time. I think they believe me, or at least partly believe me.
Well, I suppose we've done all we can for now. We'll just have to rest and decide the next step in the morning.
Yes. I believe that I'm going to spend the evening in the common room tonight. With those creatures out there, I do not know how much sleep I will truly get anyway.
And with that thought, the evening turns somber, and the adventurers spend the rest of the night in sobriety. Tim plucks idly at his guitar in the quiet common room, while even the reunited children keeping their voices and laughter low, feeling the ominous air. Laeran whispers prayers over his symbol of Kelemvor, and Rosjen meditates alone in her room. For now, David is safe at home with his family, and the townsfolk can rest peacefully tonight. But many questions remain, and the meaning of these attacks is still unknown. Where does the story continue? Please join us next time for another chapter.
Tales by Tabletop is a series supported by a dedicated team. They make this project happen and infinitely more fun. Laeran is played by Jim Cook and voiced by Jay DeGraff. Rosjen is played by Misty Harper and voiced by Jazlyn Pintar. Tim is voiced and played by Phil Boelche. Your narrator is David Nellor. Guest voice acting provided by Travis Nellor and Steve Vettori. Story coordinators are Mike Becker, Chris Hultin, and Zac McAuley. Sound effects provided by freesound.org and music provided by tabletopaudio.com. The theme for Tales by Tabletop was created by David Vass. This show is edited and directed by Zac McAuley, Travis Nellor, and is produced by Michael Blackard.